let's talk about the Manchester cop incident, which happened on July the 23rd. Still no charges. The reason I brought this up, Russell, is a big article in the Daily Mail at the weekend. Big double page spread, chronicling the life of freedom that the two Muslim brothers who were filmed pummeling the hell out of serving police officers. One woman police officer got her nose broken, blood all over it, had to go to hospital. Pummeling them on July the 23rd. They still enjoy a life of total freedom because they haven't been charged, and they're as free as you or me. And people are asking, the Daily Mail said, and this is the question they asked, I want to get your response, Russell, if I can. This is the headline. Is the crippling fear of racism the real reason no one has been charged more than 4 months after the July the 23rd Manchester Airport cop beating incident? Is that the reason? I think it is.
Yeah, I think this is two-tier policing ground zero.
Yeah.
I think this is the epitome of it. I think it's being demonstrated to us with kind of abandon, really, by the authorities. I don't think they care what we think. I think this is akin to what went on, and probably still goes on, actually, according to some commentators, with regard to Pakistani grooming gangs, Rochdale and so on, where we all know that the police eventually admitted, with regard to Rochdale certainly, that they did not want to pursue ethnic minorities for grooming and sexually assaulting and raping young white girls because it would cause a racial incident in certain communities. This is exactly the same thing. There is absolutely no excuse for the delay. The police apparently handed over the file back in August, so we're now 3 months on from that. The CPS are pretty shoddy, but they can't be quite this incompetent to not have put together a case, given that they have indisputable video evidence and witness evidence from other police officers that shows these brothers punching police officers. Now, even if, and I think, this is where we're going to go with this, even if it is that the CPS are waiting to see the outcome of the internal police investigation, so that they hope that police investigation will be found whereby the police officer that allegedly stamped on the head of one of the brothers, they'll find him wanting. That will be their excuse to be able to say, we can't prosecute the brothers now because they were defending themselves or provoked. Let me tell you, in law, morally, socially, no matter what, if you punch police officers, you're guilty. It is as simple as that.
I don't care what the reason is, because there's a lot of talk about that coppers weren't nice to their mother was in a poor state. And
there's no excuse.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Look at this. We're watching it now. In this country, I don't care what the reason is, no citizen of this country should be allowed to rain punches down on serving police officers. These aren't just punches. These are frenzied attacks. Absolute frenzied rain of punches being rained down, pummeling serving police officers. That requires a charge. I don't care what the reason is. Private citizens have to be told in no circumstances whatsoever are you allowed to punch serving police officers. And yet, as you quite rightly say, this is what we suspect. Let us know what you think, folks. We suspect that the Crown Prosecution Service, with this extraordinary delay, takes an average of about 50 days to bring violent charges, an average, to bring violent charges against defendants and suspects in cases of violence. We are way over 100 days now. No sign of any action, despite the fact that last week Reform UK, Nigel Farage's Forum UK, tried to put a rocket under this situation by launching a private prosecution of these brothers. Still no movement from the Crown Prosecution Service, and as Russell quite rightly says, they've had the file since August the 15th. These delays are inexplicable unless they are specifically waiting, we think, for a decision by the Independent Office of Police Complaints, that's where people complain about coppers, to arguably, potentially bring down a verdict on the copper who stamped on one of the brothers' heads to say he's out of order, you know, he's being kicked out of the police or being punished or remonstrated with or whatever, and then they can turn around and say, well, given that this police officer has fallen foul of police standards and has been found guilty by the Independent Office of Police Complaints, we can't logically go forward with this case with any realistic chance of winning in the courts. That's nonsense.
It is nonsense.
That's what they want to do.
And just for 1 second, let's just put aside the biased two-tier policing that this epitomises and that we've seen. What sort of message do we think this sends to if we're right, if there is a bias towards and in favour of people of an ethnic community that go about this kind of behaviour, what message does it send to them when they get away with it? Should we then be surprised, as we saw actually in the those riots, those anti-Semitic attacks in Amsterdam, if you've got a certain element of the community that is allowed to get away with at first vocalising nasty things, then those nasty things turning into racism, then violence, and then whatever else, are we surprised that the slippery slope that we are on in this country with regard to this stuff, are we surprised that we're already kind of 3/4 of the way down it gaining speed, frankly? Because if you get off the hook, it's like dealing with 5-year-olds, isn't it? If you let them off the hook, they do more and more and worse things, and that's what we're going to see in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, and this is two-tier, as Russell quite rightly said. This is ground zero of two-tier policing. These two brothers are Muslim. Now, there are two coppers also waiting to hear whether or not they will be charged by the Crown Prosecution Service. So there are 4 people on police remand here, 2 of them coppers. We believe, and I've asked Manchester Police and I've asked the CPS many times for some kind of response, you get nothing. So we believe that the Crown Prosecution Service are waiting and hoping that the Independent Office of Police Complaints will find one or both of these coppers guilty of misconduct in stamping that guy's head, and therefore be able to announce realistically we've got no chance of a prosecution in the real courts, in public courts, succeeding. Therefore they get out of it, don't they? No one can then accuse them of being Islamophobic. They're terrified of these brothers because they're Muslims. It's as simple as that. That's what Russell and I believe. If we're wrong, Crown Prosecution Service, Manchester Police, you've got our number. Give us a call. Tell us why we're wrong. Every time I ask this, we get nothing. So I don't think we are wrong. What do you think, folks? 03444991000. And if these brothers don't get charged, as Russell quite rightly says, once again, we're in a world of trouble. It means we have a justice system that isn't interested in the crime. It's only interested in the politics behind the crime. Should these brothers be let off? Should they get off after punching the hell out of 3 serving police officers? 1, a woman with her nose smashed all over her face, a female police officer, broken nose. All 3 coppers had to go to hospital. You've seen the video. It's not just a few punches. This is a frenzied attack on serving police officers. Do you want to live in a country where that's allowed? You know, it's just so that top cops don't get accused of being Islamophobic. Is that what you want? 03444991000. Talking of insanity, we'll have a look at the migrant crisis next, which of course goes from bad to mad worse. So stay tuned for that.